Hey guys, welcome to The Link. It's your girl Tiara Nicole.
Your boy Jay Watkins, man. What's going on? What's going on?
Awesome. So, in honor of Women's History Month, today we are talking about feminism and how it does not support Black women.
Fact. Fact. I mean, that's I'm
Are you
I'm
ready for the conversation?
I'm always game for a good shake of the table.
Shake the table.
We building our own tables out here. But
Exactly. Like, I feel like shake the table should be like our hashtag. Let's make that a thing. Shake
okay.
the table. So, I think the point in the monthly conversation is to bring up topics that need to be discussed in our culture, in our world, in our society, but in a way that's a little, edgy.
Yeah. And edgy with like a little bit, flavor, relaxed tone, you know what I mean? So people feel comfortable with the conversation. And even stirring up things that people haven't necessarily realized before.
Yeah.
Like,
Or even put it in that context.
yeah, it's like an underlying obvious thing, right? So like feminism, people know what feminism is. Well, people think they know what feminism is, but we're here to educate you on what feminism is, what it isn't, and then
And
how
who it's not for.
and how our women relate to the movement called feminism. So
Absolutely. And so as we're having this conversation, we want you to be a part of the conversation. So comment if you agree, comment if you disagree, comment if there's a topic you want to discuss, right? Excellent.
So you want me to start? Okay, cool. So I got you. So pretty much in undergrad, so I minored in women's and gender studies. And so the idea of women's and gender studies is pretty much it explores how men and women relate in society. So this idea of feminism, came about, and it's pretty much the drive to make men and women equal in society, right? So when we say feminism, a lot of people think about equal pay, right? They automatically think about the money, pretty much looking to bridge the pay gap was not the only thing feminism, started with moving forwards, but it's pretty much the advocacy for women's rights and equality based on sexes. But today, in particular, we're going to touch on white feminism, which is a subsection of feminism that kind of excavates everything around it, and it just pulls out white women. Right?
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about here today.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start us off with a quote from Malcolm X. The most disrespected person in American history is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. So when I think about the fact that I am a Black woman, I think about it's kind of a juxtaposition. So like you can look at it as a double minority, or you can choose to look at it as a double superpower. So like I like to think of, women's intuition, and I also like to think of the Black magic that is innate in all of our melanin. Mm-hmm. I think of the both of those as superpowers, and I feel like it's really just a matter of your perspective, right? So you can look at it like, oh, I'm a double minority, no one really cares about Black women, or you can look at the fact that despite the fact that no one cares about the Black woman, we're the most disrespected, unprotected, and neglected class of any in the society. Yeah. And yet we still succeed. And yet we're still, so Black women are the largest growing percentage of entrepreneurs. Yeah. Like we're the most educated in this country. So like, despite those barriers, we're killing it.
Yeah, and you literally took the words out of my mouth. Like most educated, I believe it was a number of years ago when there was a study pretty much launched, and the numbers came out that Black women are the most educated group of people. Yeah. So, and me personally, I don't find that hard to believe, right? But I don't find it hard to believe at all. But when you're not in tune with that on the daily,
yeah,
then you wouldn't know, right? They don't see the hard work that goes into just being a Black woman. And let me start off right here and do my, my quotation things right there. The blaring red quotations that go right here. I know I identify as an African American male, right? I know I'm not a woman.
Yeah.
Don't identify as, well, let me say it back. I know I'm not a female. I don't identify as a woman, right? I am a straight African-American male.
Right.
However, I was raised by a Black woman in a household with a Black grandmother. I have 2 Black sisters, and I have a lot of Black cousins and an amazing, beautiful Black niece. So
Yeah.
I have bukus of Black women, that have had their hands on me in my upbringing. So this topic is very important and near and dear to me. And I can relate, right? I'm there for the discussions. I see the hard work. I've seen the tears. I've seen it all. And I know there's so much more to come, but to get that disclaimer before people think, what's your stake on, I definitely have a dog in the fight.
Absolutely.
Get that out there. Get that out the way early.
Got you. And what I will say, I think it's important to have this dialogue, the fact that I'm a Black woman and you're a Black male. And I think the reason it's important is because when you think about who we kind of look to for protection in a general sense, we don't expect the white male or Hispanic male or Asian male to protect us. It's only a disheartening moment when a Black male doesn't protect us, because we also recognize the fact that your mama Black, your sister Black, your children is Black, and so when you think about a Black man raised, and I'm not saying you, but what I'm saying, there are many cases where Black men who are raised by Black women, around Black women, give birth to not give birth, but procreate Black women, and then go out there and say, oh, I'm not dating a Black woman, or I can't stand Black women. And it's just like, okay, go tell your mother and then come back and tell me what she says. You know what I mean? Go say that to your mother.
Yeah, and that literally plays into this idea of feminism,
right?
In the sense of society. So when we look at society, the way it's structured, power, the word power correlates directly to white male,
straight white male,
cis white male, right? CIS, not transgender, right? Straight white male, straight up. That's what you think of when you think of power. And then when you get into this whole paradox of, okay, how do we gain our power, right? As Black people, what gives us our power? What do we claim to make us feel powerful, right? And we've been sold a dream, right? So our culture explores so many different things, whether it be, having multiple women, jewelry, whatever, cars, houses, not real wealth.
Right.
Plug in.
Right.
That's where you plug in the last video so people can go see
the video. Listen.
Black wealth. But really
talk about Black wealth and how to create it. Yes.
Yeah. So go see the last video if you want to talk about that or learn about that. But when it comes to the society or the culture, I think Steve Harvey, and everybody on his head right now. So I was just picking up on something he said a while back. When we talk about how men are on this financial clock and women are on this biological clock.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's neither here nor there. But it's true to the fact that we are quick to prioritize things in our life in that moment. That delayed gratification doesn't resonate early. I think in a lot of young men, it's a curse. It's a curse. But to the idea of feminism, I kind of want to touch on a major point for me. I was doing my research because I'm a dork, and I love to read. That's where you plug your books.
www.nicolesnetwork.net. Book number 1 and 2 are available. Number 3 is available for pre-order. Don't play. Black wealth. Support a Black business.
Cop books. Hashtag buy Black. Hashtag buy Black. But
since you put the alley-oop out there.
Of course, I'm gonna lob it up. We all trying to eat. But when we talk about feminism, white feminism, right? So when we talk about that subset of feminism, we look at things like beauty standards. So one thing that I realized was we look at, let's take Sports Illustrated, for example, their magazine covers, right? It's going to be rare to see a voluptuous a woman of black or brown, unless it was gained through laying on the beach or in a bed, a tanning bed, in a two-piece, presented in any type of, way.
Yep.
And I think that's, again, they always want to talk about beauty standards. That's how they define beauty in the industry, right? That's kind of a play on feminism in the white world, right?
And let me stop you there. So kind of along those lines, it's almost a double-edged sword, because the same thing or the same traits that Black women get kind of or criticized about, like big lips or big hips or cornrows or, a big butt and all this other stuff, white women will pay to have these things done to them and still treat Black women like, and it's like, and you're making physical alterations to your body to look more like a Black woman, and we'll still treat a Black woman like a second-class citizen. And it's just like, and not to mention the amount of money white women spend on tanning.
Oh yeah,
Let's start there.
Isn't that unhealthy?
And it's unhealthy. You're more likely to get skin cancer by tanning, but people do it to look darker. But then darker isn't beautiful. I think they confuse.
I do too. Which reminded me, add colorism to one of our discussions. We'll touch on that.
Definitely, no, that's a thing.
Yeah, and that's definitely a necessary conversation.
Absolutely, coming soon.
Yeah, I think the word we need to use is intersectionality.
Okay.
It's ignoring the fact that you're a woman first, right? So when we talk about feminism, it's the movement for women.
Mm-hmm.
So just even some key dates that I have here, right? So women were granted, the suffrage movement, right? 1920, women are allowed to vote. White women.
1920. But
white women
did not vote.
White women. We need to specify that in history.
Exactly.
White women were allowed to vote, because we know we weren't allowed to vote until the late 19s, mid 60s,
I believe, yeah.
Something like that. So it's, I think, voting rights 1965. Yep. Okay.
But when you read the history books, it says women were allowed to vote in 1920.
45 years.
I could not have.
No.
I could not have, because my race was and that goes back to that, like, double minority. Like, you get hit on both sides.
Yeah, hard.
And it gets tiring. And I think a lot of times when we were addressing the fact that women are the most educated and women are the most, the largest growing group of entrepreneurs, it really boils down to, I don't think that's being celebrated enough, because it's almost obligatory.
Yeah.
And so when it's done out of obligate, like, we go to school because we have to.
Mm-hmm.
We got kids to provide for. We got, how. And it's like, when you're doing something out of obligation, you're not even addressing the reality that you're doing something great.
It's sad, even like the point that you made with entrepreneurship. So if we look at how white women are pushing for equal pay,
mm-hmm.
Black and brown women make less than white women anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, who are we fighting for here? Like, who are we rooting for? Again, intersectionality. We're not looking across the board, right? It's just the movement for white women, right? Yeah. This idea of white guilt, and which is one of my favorite topics.
That's a topic coming up too. So make sure
one of my favorite topics,
so that you see when these topics are coming up. But that is one coming soon.
That's one of my favorite topics. But I think it's pertinent to remember, like the dates we just said, how delayed everything is.
45
wasn't that long ago. Like, that wasn't that long. Like, I can go talk to my grandma about that right now.
My grandmother was 22 in 1965.
Talk with her right now. Like,
my mother was 5 years shy of being born. My mother. I ain't mean to put your age out there, Mom, but like, facts is facts.
Somebody over there with the calculator. Don't get in trouble. But yeah, wasn't that long ago that these things were happening, and obviously still occurring today, to the points that you made when we look at beauty standards, our culture, music, fashion, all of that stuff we've already touched on and we'll continue to touch on. So, you know, it's important. I think I'm just very fortunate to have explored this as, you know, an area of study in college. Just so I kind of went to some things to see, you know, when did this become a topic of discussion? So the things I found out
I don't know that it ever has.
Exactly.
Until today.
It became a topic of discussion in my classes, but the issue was everybody looked to me for the black male, black straight male perspective.
Yeah.
You know, that's a problem because I'm like, I can't speak for all of us.
Right.
I can speak for us, but to that same note, and this is no offense to anybody, because you study what you want in school, right?
Sure.
You do what you want to follow your passion, but it wasn't many black or brown women in my classes either.
I believe that.
So it was evident that the material was built on backs of people that didn't look like me, right? So, you know, the information was built and designed to tell the story and the narrative for white women. I'm not blaming them at all. Let's get out of the way early. We're not blaming anybody. But what we are saying,
the reality, honestly.
Yeah, literally, just the reality, the sad facts that when we talk about feminism, we need to make sure that we explore the fact that black feminism is completely different. Black and brown feminisms are completely different than the white feminism idea, movement, exploration, whatever. But women's and gender study courses apparently started popping up in the 60s. Okay. So we already behind the ball. So we just said now.
So that's about 40 years after the feminist movement pretty much got going.
Yeah. So that's all they have to talk about. And the feminist movement didn't support who?
Anybody black. Anybody other than white women, for sure.
Exactly. So that obviously tells us that
gender studies was not meant for us either. Which brings me to my next point. So we have a lot of great movements that happen, right? The civil rights movement focused on Black people, but did not focus on women.
I agree. And that's a fact.
The feminist movement focused on women, but did not focus on Blacks. So it left a huge gap of who's addressing the issues faced by Black women, which the term womanism was created or coined by Alice Walker in 1979. She coined the term womanism to address Black women specifically, and how the needs that were not met in the civil rights movement and the needs that were not met in the feminist movement kind of come together and allows us to address those concerns, because they are absolutely valid concerns. And I think there are specific concerns to the Black women group.
Alice Walker. Amazing.
Shout out to you.
So you say the name, people already like, okay, Alice Walker, you know.
Alice Walker.
Again, Alice Walker,
author. Bloop.
Aggravated. Oh, yo. But womanism, right? So trying to give us back what we lost and trying to give us something to explore, look forward to, dive into, that our people, our women, you all are lacking or were lacking at the time. And that's something that I always keep, you know, and I keep repeating this because I want people to realize this gap. The time gap is severe. Like, it's ridiculous. We talk about just, okay, we simply say the 40-year gap between women being able to vote and then Black women being able to vote.
That's about a generation and a half.
That's a long time. Not a long time ago, but a lot can. I mean, a lot can happen in 4 minutes. So we're talking about 40
40
minutes,
years.
40 years. 40 years, a lot to miss out on, a lot of misinformation, a lot of misguidance, a lot of misused energy.
Yeah.
Hey, you can vote. We're gonna take away the test, the stuff to test if you can read and all of that hoopla. You don't even know what you're voting for. So it's
Exactly.
we're giving people tools with no way to understand how to use them. So shout out to Alice Walker for trying to fill that space,
Right.
in the way that we're trying to kind of do, like filling the space with
Yeah.
a pertinent conversation, but actual movement towards a goal. So.
Yep. And I think for me, I have to always recognize it's like, how do you address the fact that, this womanism was termed in 1979? Like, what happened to Black women in America the hundreds of years before that we were in this country, and there was no focus on the needs, the problems, the challenges? Like, what happened?
What do you have?
I don't have that answer.
And that's like, who do we talk to?
Right.
And the people that we're talking to, do they know what feminism is? Excuse me. Apparently, I can't get my words together. Apparently, I can only say Black feminism. No, I can't say the regular word. Does your grandma know what feminism is?
So a lot of times I think we also have to address, like, the generation that grew up in these movements are the same generation that have a don't ask, don't tell policy. So it's really difficult to have certain conversations when their whole life has been don't ask, don't tell. Like, this is the same generation of women, specifically Black women, that stayed in abusive relationships, that were raped by their husbands, that were cheated on, and they still stayed till death do us part without muttering a single word, because that's the culture that was around the Black community. The man got to do whatever he want. He could have a whole family outside of the house, and I cook dinner, so dinner's on the table at 5:59. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole different. Whereas now we're a generation where we talk about everything.
Yeah, openly, need to.
That was not the culture of the baby boomer generation at all. At all. What baby boomer is as open as we are?
There is a lot of missing information there.
Yeah.
And it's a transition of times, a transition of power, a transition of understanding.
Yeah. And that was also before everything was on the internet too.
And
nothing was recorded, nothing was documented. If they didn't save newspapers, you kind of really didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, whereas now you can Google something and it's on there for forever. Like, it's just it's a different time. And so, you would really have to actively and consciously make a decision. Like, I'm going to find out this information about this topic in order to really understand it.
Yeah. And I think now it's a lot of people, again, breaking down barriers, shaking the table, whatever, moving obstacles out of the way to start conversations like this.
Yeah.
Right. Back then, voiceless. Right.
Yeah. And voiceless because racism was so rampant. Like, shaking the table could mean I would get lynched tonight.
Right. What you said.
And this is in my grandparents' generation. Like, if I shook the table too hard, you would have a burning cross in my front yard tonight.
Yeah.
Like, we like to think that that's such a faraway concept. No, our grandparents grew up with the KKK alive and well.
And not even, they still alive and well.
They got their rebirth when who got you nowhere.
Yeah, and I gotta tell people, I wrote a paper on the Klan in high school. And I remember literally typing these words. They traded in their hoods for suits and ties.
Definitely. Well, here's the thing about the KKK, and this is a whole different conversation, but the KKK, the reason they wore hoods is because these were the police officers and the
lawyers, judges, teachers, principals.
That's why they wore hoods over their face, because these were the same people treated separate but equal, right? No, they don't care about you.
Still don't. But even to that same point, and that's why when we talk about highlighting or who we highlight in our history as being the forerunners and forefront.
It was politicians too, quiet as it's kept.
Yeah, quiet. Is it quiet?
I don't think it's that quiet, but
I hear it loud and clear.
They try to pretend it's quiet.
I hear it loud and clear. I think everybody else does too. But I think that's why we highlight so blaringly the people who attempted and even did. Let me say they reached the goal to start the conversation. Like even Sojourner Truth, right? We talk about her late 1800s or not even late, excuse me, mid 1800s, 1850s. You talk about her, her speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" Like everybody, if you haven't read that,
get on
that right now. "Ain't I a Woman?" The same way I just said it. "Ain't I a Woman?" Where she got up and professed her discomfort and disdain for the way that she was being treated as a black woman.
Yeah.
Black woman at a women's rights convention in 1851, I think. 1851.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. Now that's a long time
ago.
That is
a long time ago.
That's a long time ago, but starting the conversation just for it to bump all the way up.
Yeah.
Go dark again.
Exactly. And I think it goes dark because we think, oh, everything's okay. Nah.
It's because the people that get to talk are saying that.
Exactly.
The people that get to talk are saying that, and then so people believe them.
But then, I feel like we go through waves because we try to convince ourselves that racism is dead when really and truly it's just sleep.
Yeah.
And the moment something like...
Okay, I see your point.
But think about it. The moment we got a black president, they was like, whoa, hoo-hoo, time to wake up the giant. You know what I mean? Like, what president had a statue made of them being lynched? What president before that? But every president before that was a white male.
I agree.
So we don't have problems until you try to shake the table a little too much.
You got to play nice. You got to
play nice in the sandbox. And as long as you play nice in the sandbox, this sleeping giant called racism is sleep.
Yeah, especially when it comes to being a woman.
Yeah.
So we literally highlighted the point of them being the most educated but most disrespected. Now if that isn't oxymoronic, I don't know what is. That doesn't even make sense to me. Where you're going to go into a workplace and obviously be able to outperform. Mm-hmm. And I think it's ironic that we plan to do this discussion because somebody reached out to me last week, and they work in corporate America, and they were pretty much exploring.
Yeah.
What they asked me, the question was along the lines of, how do you voice your discomfort or just simply being upset with knowing that you're outperforming everybody around you, and you know that you're not even being, mean or ugly, but you know you're the smartest, you know you're the brightest.
Yeah.
On quickly.
And it's a difficult balance because as a Black woman, the moment I express disappointment, anger, frustration, I'm immediately seen as the angry Black woman. Immediately. It's very frustrating because like I'm in a similar situation where I'm like, I'm tired of having to work twice as hard to get half as much. I'm tired. Like while my male counterparts get to sit and chill all day, I'm tired. But because I'm the only one with the gumption to speak out when there's a problem, oh, Tiara's upset today. I'm upset when you don't do your job. Like, it's not, And instead of hearing the feedback, you immediately brush it off because she's an angry Black woman. When really, I'm just a Black woman who's a very hard worker, and I'm not going to sit by silently.
Yeah.
But you get to dismiss the words coming out of my mouth simply because you've categorized me as an angry Black woman.
Yeah, and we know, like, they're quick to just label a woman, an angry woman, as one thing, and an angry man is just a hard boss. You know, it's like he just wants a lot out of us, like, and that's stupid. First of all, but again, where everybody isn't afforded, and that's why I'm so quick to look at things from other people's view.
Yeah.
You know, we say, you know, education at your fingertips. Reach out, read, grab a book, talk to somebody. We do that because we thirst for knowledge and understanding.
Right.
And we want out of life. A lot of people are comfortable. You know, they're comfortable because it's comfortable to just move through your day like, yo, and just do things simple. That's a real comfortable thing. But when you start unearthing layers and life isn't as, you know, plain as it seems, it's a scary world out here. You realize how really hateful people are, how ugly the world is, how you can't save the earth, the world in one day. It's those things that are really hard on people to face, or why people don't seek knowledge. And it's terrible, but I feel like, you know, even through the struggle, I love being Black. I love being Black. I simply love it.
Yeah.
It's like one of the, if not the greatest things ever.
Right.
You know,
and I agree. And I feel like as difficult as it is to be a Black woman in America, I damn sure don't want to be nothing else. Like, what's the alternative? No, thank you.
I feel that. I love being Black. I love it.
I don't want to be anything else.
Everything that comes with it.
Enjoy.
Everything that comes with it. It's like, man.
Yeah.
I want more people to get in on these conversations, though.
Facts.
Because everything, it takes like a tragic event, you know, to happen for us to even start talking about things like this. We got on the topic because of the month it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing tragic or bad that happened. But when we explore, you know, situations like Sandra Bland, and going back to your idea of the angry Black woman,
yeah,
you know, how would that traffic stop have went if she was white and angry?
Nowhere. She probably would have got a warning.
And probably would have wrote down his badge number. He probably would have got suspended.
And the thing about Sandra Bland, which first of all, rest in peace, or you know, I got you. The thing about Sandra Bland's passing and the movement that kind of followed is it was almost a wake-up call. There were a lot of Black males being murdered by police in plain sight and, you know, all of that. But Sandra Bland was the first woman that really kind of like struck a nerve in America. I'm not saying she's the first one to be killed by police. I'm not.
Definitely not. But I know what you mean.
In that trend almost of cops abusing their power, she was the first in that trend to be a female. And it was such a clear abuse of power because that man was bigger than her. That man was stronger than her. And that man had more power than her and had significantly less control. Like when you watch the video, she was pretty calm up until the point that his knee was in her back. Like she was pretty like, it could have got a lot worse, but she was relatively calm the entire time, literally until the point where you're breaking her arm and your knee is in her back because she didn't turn on her blinker to get out of your way because your sirens were on. She was trying to show respect for you as an officer, and because she didn't put on her blinker, now you got to pull her over. And now because you ask her, you seem agitated. And when she responds, it's a problem because she's agitated. Well, you asked her, damn it.
But everybody asks, who excited to get pulled over? Who's
everybody would
oh
be
my God, like, yo, I'm so happy to see you. Like, do you know why?
Officer, thanks so much for pulling me over. No, said no human ever.
We all got somewhere to be. We all got something to do, sir.
Exactly. And I think the thing that kind of struck me the most, and this was the first time me and my mother had to have a make sure you come home conversation.
And that's literally what I was about to say. You literally took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say, I know that's what flipped the switch of change, because initially it was you talking to your brothers, your cousins. Let me know when you make it home. Always let me know when you make it home.
Yeah.
Teaching them how to behave with police officers. Same thing with me and my dad. But it's crazy that you said that, because I literally feel that you're very correct in the point that when that occurred with her, I think women of color
started realizing
those lights. Yeah, those lights started looking different. Like, I think now y'all feel it is like the same way we feel it. Like when I see lights,
right. And I think for starters, it was one of those things where it was like, she's a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
She's Black.
Well educated,
outspoken.
Okay. Yeah, and well spoken on top of that.
Well spoken, which is like offensive to people who are not well spoken.
Every time.
And so it really, and then the fact that she was my sorority sister, it hit home. I'm like, that literally could be me.
Yeah.
Like, I am one, like, it got to the point where for years I was afraid to get pulled over, not because of the consequence of a ticket, but being pulled over for something as simple as not putting on your blinker could be the end of my life. And that was scary for me. And the fact that they used her mental illness struggle, because I have also dealt with depression and suicide. So the fact that they've used her past to cover up her death is ridiculous. It's sickening and it's disheartening, and it's really absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that my mother had to have a conversation with me, if you get pulled over, I don't care what they say, I don't care what they do, I need you to come home. Like, the fact that my mother has to have that conversation with me in 2010s, you can't tell me racism is dead. You can't.
Alive and well. And it's sad. And just literally to the point of, we need movements like feminism to include us. Let me preface that by saying I'm not begging for inclusion. I never will do that ever. In any venture that I have, business, personal, never will I look, to be begging, right? But what I'm saying is, if you care as much as you say you do, show me. I'm all actions. I'm actions over words.
Facts. Don't tell me nothing. Show me.
It's a lot more people to get paid to do something than people to get paid to talk. Now, it's a lot of people to get paid to talk, but I know a lot more people who get paid doing something than talking, right? So show me. Again, feminism is a major movement. I, myself, am an aspiring feminist. I always say that because I ain't there yet, right? I definitely I see the need for equality, and I definitely believe that it's necessary, right? I'm not
about equality for all.
All, and that's the point I'm getting at. Everybody. Intersectionality is the word I'm pushing. Slow this down. Put this in slow motion. Intersectionality. And you know what's crazy? I'm on a roll right now because the Sandra Bland thing really that hits me again, because I love Black women. Like, I love Black. Like, when that happened, like how you said they could have been you, I saw my sister.
Yeah.
I saw my mother, right? I saw my grandmothers, I saw my aunts, I saw my cousins. So that hit me because I've dealt with the, get pulled over, you go to conversation, get out the car. Now you like, bro, they might pull my mama over and wild out. That's crazy. Like,
yeah, it's a
my mama
whole
didn't want a
different.
Bible study. Like, on
Yeah.
her way to church. That's crazy. Like, and y'all gonna wild out like
To
that?
the grocery store in a sundress. Like, dog, how much of a threat is this?
Bro, I got almond milk and some rice cakes in the back seat. And this how y'all acting. And it's just a sad fact that we have to why are we even having this conversation? It's like this it's
Right.
like
Why do we have to have it? Right.
why do we have to have this? Like the world is just a really jacked up place. It's really sad. It's a jacked up place. But and the reason get back to the word intersectionality is because I was sitting here reading, and it's crazy that Black feminism is built on that word.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we talk about us, always including everybody.
Yeah.
Always including everybody. We ain't never turned away no everybody. Y'all want to invite everybody to the cookout. I'm not. I know I know y'all want to. I'm not. Everybody can't cook.
And you better not touch a plate.
Look, and what my man say? My fraternity brother, since we shouting out, I greet them. '06. Talking about, people who are tinfoil people in your life, like aluminum foil people. They don't never bring
I
nothing
wasn't
to you.
ready.
They don't never bring nothing to you, but they always taking something away. Our culture is a culture of giving.
Yep.
We are a culture of giving. We are a culture of inclusion. Yet we've consistently been denied access.
Yep.
We've been consistently restricted, held back, blinded, beaten. Yep. And yet we just get back up, and dust ourselves off, and keep going.
And inviting them to the table after they didn't let us. I'm tired of it.
I get it though. I get it because it's this idea that we're not going to build who we are, our culture on hatred. And I love that about us. I love that about us. And I'm 100% behind that. But there's a thin line between
not being hateful and becoming a doormat.
Yes.
I got you.
That part, right? That's why I tell people, man, rude and real run real close together. Rude and real right here together. So inclusion.
Yep.
Intersectionality. Black feminism is a real thing. Right. So we need to make sure that when we talk about feminism, realize how the movement affects our culture, our people, our women in particular, our children that aren't even here yet.
Right.
We need to fight for equality across the board, man. Because
so let's I want to kind of wrap up and kind of talk about from like where do we go from here? Like how can we make this better? Okay. I'll share my thoughts on making it better. As a Black woman, I am challenging every Black woman watching this video, listening to this video. I think we need to do a better job of being kind to one another. And I say that in a sense of we will withhold compliments from one another. Like we'll see someone that deserves a compliment, say it to our friend, but not tell the person deserving of that. So look for opportunities to compliment another woman. Look for opportunities to promote another woman, to support, to mentor, to call and say, hey, how did your week go? Checking in on one another. And I think we need and deserve that kind of loving relationship and putting less focus on the criticalness that often comes between Black women. Like, look for reasons to show love and concern and understanding and patience
Yeah.
with one another rather than looking for reasons to critique or criticize or bash another woman. That's my challenge on how we move forward.
So mine, everything you said, but in the sense of being a man, in the presence or the place that you hold, right? So we need to give honor to our mothers, give honor to our sisters, our family members. It's a poor frog who doesn't praise his own pond. Pretty much means you have to give praise to those and things and those people around you, so they know their value, they know their worth. But also explore. I'm such a stickler for education. Education to me is such the basis. It's such a great foundation.
Mm-hmm.
The right education, though, right? So you need to make sure that you're exploring the right information, right? You got to build yourself up with the good news, like the good things, the real things. Because you can't make any solid moves on this altered history that we've been spoon fed with this cracked foundation. Man, we can't go too far. So I'm just to my men, praise these queens, man. Praise these queens, these young ladies. Tell them how important they are.
Yeah.
Tell them how beautiful they are, how great they are, how intelligent they are. But also put your arm around these young men and encourage them to do the same thing.
Right.
Right? Because eventually they're going to grow up and be older. They're going to have to make decisions and do things for themselves. And as we all know, it's easier to raise, a great man, a great boy, a young man, and it is way harder to repair.
Correct an adult.
Yeah, it's way harder. I'm working with the older kids right now, and they're a little different. They're a little different. Times are different, man. But you will be surprised how far a kind word can go. Literally what she said. Invest in the people around you, and then inclusion, it'll come. Yeah. But right now, take care of your house. Sweep around your own back door.
Yep. And I know I said I was done, but I do have an ask for any Black man who has a Black daughter. She needs you.
She does.
She needs your love. She needs your guidance. And she needs you to show her the treatment that she deserves. Because there are too many Black women being raised by Black women only, and they're not seeing how they deserve to be treated. The only experience that they see is their single mother raising them by themselves. And even if you aren't with the mother, fine, but you still need to be an active part in her life, and you still need to show up for her and show her that she's worth effort, energy, attention, so that she doesn't go accepting less than what she genuinely deserves simply because no one showed her differently. No. And with that being said, I'm really done now.
Hey,
maybe.
Look, I'm finished. As far as this discussion goes, but we definitely have to make sure that these things are prominent on our minds.
Yep.
Invest in the people around us. We'll be as strong as our weakest link. So we need to make sure that we use the intersectionality, the inclusivity, to hone in on what needs to be fixed.
Yep.
Let's fix it. Yep. Let's fix it. Again, we're not knocking at nobody's door. We're building our own door, and then we're gonna walk in and sit at
the table that we built.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So.
All right, guys. So we definitely want to hear your thoughts. Agree, disagree, something to add to the discussion, something we should have talked about. Put it in the comments. But most importantly, make sure you subscribe, share this video, thumbs up the video. Let us know what you want to talk about next. If there's a topic that you think we need to explore, definitely let us know. But make sure you subscribe most importantly, and share this video with somebody who needs to hear it. You can follow me at Tiara Nicole 1011.
J_that dude, I_MJ is my Instagram. J_that dude is my Twitter. But
we gotta
also,
combine those.
We do. I need to change that, yeah. But it'll be right here where you can see it. But comment below, tag anybody that you see as a prominent force as far as Black feminists go. Tag them below. Tag yourself. If it's you, tag yourself, right?
Absolutely. So tag a Black woman that inspires you, whether you know them personally or not. Jay, I think you know this. I think for me, my biggest inspiration is Kandi Burruss.
Shout out Kandi.
My girl. Hey, Kandi. I don't know if you'll see this, but hey, girl.
Kandi multifaceted. Kandi got all the businesses.
All the coins, okay?
Kandi all the pots.
Every coin possible, okay? But that is a Black woman that inspires me. Does one come to your mind?
My mother, man. My mother is the greatest. No disrespect to y'all mamas. I'm sure y'all mamas cool, but my mama, hey, my mama.
All right, Mama Watkins.
My mama is the one. That baby worked hard. My mama instilled so much in me. I love her. She is literally the epitome of when I think Black woman. When we talk about that intelligent, hardworking, always make it happen. You don't know how. That's my mom.
Thank you, Mama Watkins. And definitely, I mean, my mom has definitely been that as well. Single mother of 2 kids and has been a full-time entrepreneur for 15 years, had her business for 20. Like, how?
Don't ask my questions.
On the table? I don't know. That's between her and God. Yes. But like, seeing that growing up has given me the encouragement that, like, as an entrepreneur, you ain't always gonna have everything figured out. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing,
walking in your purpose,
like, it works itself out. So with that being said, tag or comment who your inspirational Black woman is.
Blessings.
See you next month.
Already.